Hey, this is Pastor Curry, pastor of the East Zion Fair Baptist Church, Wilmington's most exciting church, the church that love ya and ain't a thing you can do about it. Today with Coffee with Curry, we're going to do something a little different. The staff decided, the team said, hey, let's just do an interview where we're interviewing you on this month's theme. It's dealing with mental health. Everyone who knows me know that I have spent a lot of time in investing time, energy, research to understand mental health a little bit better. Because in our community, especially the African-American community, we find that many times it goes untreated. And when episodes occur, death always comes out of it. My goal as a pastor, my goal as a leader in the African-American community is to bring awareness. There's no shame in having mental illness. Our health mentally is very much as important to us as our spiritual. So what I'm hoping today is that you get an opportunity to hear some of the answers that I'm going to give as the team have decided they're going to interview me today. And we hope that this will be a very good show for you. Why don't you call somebody real quickly, tell them Coffee with Curry is on, and let's get after it.
Good morning, Delaware and surrounding areas. You are now tuned in to this week's Coffee with Curry. Join us every Sunday at 11 a.m. with new guests every week. So grab your cup of coffee and join us on Coffee with Curry.
And we're back. Well, it's a little awkward because I'm not the one doing the interviewing. So Vince, I'm gonna turn it over to you.
All right. Hey, everybody. If you don't remember me, my name is Vincent Cirino. I'm the director of multimedia here. Some of you in the church know me as The Voice. I'll be conducting this interview today, and we hope to have a pretty interesting interview. Thanks, Dr. Curry, for having me today and for allowing us to do this cool video with you. So let's get right to it, man. Let's start off with just talking about a brief overview of stress and how it impacts mental health. I really deal with a lot of stress in certain areas of my, not even in the work, it's mostly personal life. And it's been tough to figure out mechanisms in order to calm that and to figure out ways to cope with the stress. Well, how about you? Like, are there parts in your personal life specifically that you have found ways to cope with stress?
Yeah, well, there's definitely stress in my life when you're pastoring a congregation as large as our congregation, when you're dealing with advocacy for people, there's always a lot of stress, but that's more on the professional side. On the personal side, yes, it is there as well. Because one of the greatest stresses I have is the stress that someday it may all fall apart. So that's one of the personal stresses. But I'm just hoping that as people hear us today, they recognize that it is both, you will have it in your personal life and you will have it in your professional life. Stress is a part of life. And I think the more we accept it, the better we'll become. I know the Bible tells us that we are to be anxious for nothing, but in everything through prayer. But the reality of it is we are wrapped in flesh. And because we're wrapped in flesh, we have to recognize that stress is a part of being in this flesh. How we handle it. You asked the question, and I'm really trying to answer that. When I find myself getting overwhelmed, I think about some of the things to do that will help calm me down, that will help make me feel better. Now, this is going to shock some people, but there are those who know this as a reality. I'll go shopping.
Interesting.
I don't have a lot of hobbies. I'll go shopping. If I get to the mall, one of the malls that I enjoy, I'll begin to buy things, not just for myself, but for other people as well. The shopping helps me to deal with the stress. It doesn't allow me to run away from it, but it helps me to deal with it because I know I'm planting something in somebody else's life. I know I'm planting something in my life.
Interesting.
So the stress with me, I'm a shopper. I love to shop. I love clothing. I love things. And shopping is one of the things I believe help me with my stress, which means I think that's going to have to become a key element for those people who are stressed out. What are you doing? What do you enjoy so much that when you're stressed, that can help to alleviate some of that stress?
Yeah, something you said there actually keyed to another question, which was that you do things for others and made me think, well, gratitude is helping you. Just the thought of buying something for someone else alleviated some of that stress that was on you.
Yes.
I think that's a great thing for everyone, really,
Yeah.
is gratitude.
Yeah.
And whatever form of that in your life, it should definitely be prevalent, though, or present.
It's almost like you giving.
Yeah.
See, in order, nothing gets into a tight fist. When your hand is open by giving, you're open and available for other things to pour into your life. So when you said that, I then thought about the fact that as long as you're giving, God has always got room to give something back to you.
Man.
So I thought that is very much true.
And what a great analogy, the open and closing, because really you're right. If you're closed off, you're going to miss things.
Yes, and stress will do that to you. Stress will block you and barricade you from life. Stress will have you believing that right is wrong and wrong is right. Stress will have you sick. It'll have you, and as I'm doing the research, stress creates all kind of problems, and it is the number one factor that happens to come along with the mental health issue.
Whoa.
Where the people are so stressed out, they're just falling apart. And stress comes from the fact you're out of control. The control has been lost, you feeling. So therefore, I'm just worried about it.
Man. Yeah. Well, how does stress affect our physical and mental well-being? That's kind of where you were tapping on just now.
Yeah. Well, it affects our well-being because our body has to work harder to get us to a place where we are at normal. Stress is a silent killer. There are people who are sick and they don't know why they're sick because they don't equate it to their mental health. They only equate it to their, like, for example, I don't know why I'm feeling bad. I don't know why my head is hurting. I don't know why. Blood pressure goes up when you're stressed out.
Interesting.
When you are not mentally feeling good, when you don't feel like you are accomplishing the things you need to accomplish, it causes other aspects of your body to start overreacting.
Yeah.
Anxiety, it causes it to overreact. So, while I'm not a psychologist and I don't claim to be one,
right.
I read a lot. And as I'm reading, I'm seeing that our health is very much affected by our mood. I mean, you could, if you feel great, you can do anything. You have a wonderful day, you get 1,000 things done. If you feel down, everything shuts down.
Interesting, yeah.
So I think that that stress plays a very major role in our physical health.
Man. So to really be aware of like where our mind is during the day and to stay in more of a positive light, even if we're going through tough times, because that negative thought can really make you sick physically.
Yes.
That's crazy.
Yeah, but it's the truth. And people, and I guess a lot of people do not pay attention to that. They feel that, you know what, I'll get over it. Especially in the areas, like for example, in the city, it's different than in the suburbs in a lot of areas. There's different types of traumas. But when you see all the trauma that happens in the city, I mean, shooting after shooting, this issue after that issue, people are carrying that. And they're stressed out about it. And they don't go to a doctor to say, look, what is wrong? The doctor can say physically you're fine, but mentally there's some issues going on. There's some trauma going on. So I just believe that if you are able to handle yourself by acknowledging the stress and doing something to help with the stress, it will certainly bless you and help you really greatly.
Man, that's important.
Yeah.
Yeah, moving on here. This was a specific question that I threw in here that I thought not only would help me, but also the viewers here as well. Are there biblical teachings or principles that address stress, things that you have used in your life that you could share with us today?
Well, whenever you're speaking of biblical, yes. First of all, the Bible and the Lord teaches us that we should not stress. Stress is the counter to faith. Ooh. If you have faith, you're not stressed about it because you know that all things work together for the good of them who love God. So I love God. So everything that's happening in my life, certainly God's got his hand in it. He's very strategic. So I can certainly go there and stay there for a while because yes, stress is very much taught. It's not a principle that the Lord honors. But let me say, as I said earlier, a person who is Christian, a person who is a part of the Christian belief, they may be pressured to believe that they don't get stressed out, but we do. And it doesn't mean we don't have faith. It's when we hold on to it is when our faith is deteriorated. When things happen, my mother transitioned 2 years ago, and that took me. And it took me to a place that I've not been before. But it was me praying, me reading the Word of God, understanding that God knows what He's doing. He's providential. He's omniscient. He's everywhere. He knows everything. That helped me get through that. Me trusting and believing that it is true, not just on paper.
Right.
So when you ask if there are any teachings, there are teachings to tell you to depend on God.
Yeah.
There are teachings to tell you that I think there's one scripture in David where David said, my foot almost slipped, but I took a trip to the sanctuary. What I believe David was simply saying was, I almost gave into the stress. I almost gave into the struggle, but I took a trip to that place, that sanctuary, where I was able to recognize who God is and what God is able to do. And I think that was the key. And when you're talking about the Lord, He wants us to trust Him.
Yeah.
He wants us to depend upon Him. But when life hits you all of a sudden, we got to remember to do that. But it don't always happen instantly.
Right.
And that's the part I ask that we get help with, because if you're not around someone who can feed you that positive energy, that you know what, the Lord will take care of this. And everything is not, everything we do as Christians, we pray about it. Lord, I ask that you would remove this, I ask that you would remove that. But can we also accept the fact that the Lord sometimes allow us to go through just so we can depend on Him stronger? But it takes time to get there. So for the audience who are listening to us today, I want them to be able to say, you know what? Yes, I get stressed out. But as I'm getting stressed out, I'm learning, I'm getting stronger in God. I'm learning to depend on Him. I'm learning to have faith that He's working everything out for my good. I'm learning not to be anxious about everything, but that's a process. Yeah. And I think it would be ill on my part if I just quote these 12,000 scriptures to you and say, hey, no, the Bible is dead against it, which it is against it, but just know that you're wrapped in flesh.
Right.
Just know that you're not perfect. And I'm so glad that we serve a God who, in my opinion, who has grace and mercy, which means He sees that I have no business having this stress, but His mercy says we're going to give Him a chance to get through this.
That's so nice.
So that's what I believe.
And it's reassuring too. Yeah, a lot of what you're saying really makes me think of most of the stress that I deal with, and probably a lot of you guys at home, is we're just creating it in our head. Yeah. That it's there's not a lot of physical things happening in my life that is actually stressful. Right. It's just that what I'm perceiving is stressful.
Yeah, and you know, it's funny because today, in the sermon that I'm doing this new series, I didn't tell nobody. I just announced the sermon for the day. But I talked about the whole notion of what we perceive is not the reality of what it really is. And there's an old preacher who once said that stress is like a rocking chair. It gives you a lot of motion, but it doesn't take you nowhere. and that's just the truth. I mean, it gives you all this emotion and motion, you going back, but you're not going anywhere.
That's so true.
And yes, a lot of times in our head, we are perceiving things. I mean, there are things that we think gonna happen, and it never happens.
Yeah.
I mean, there are many psychologists who will tell you 90% of what we think is gonna happen and got us all upset, got us all worried, it don't even happen.
Right.
So, which means you're gonna have to trust God.
That's what I'm hearing.
Yeah.
And it's crazy because you feel like you need to be doing something or pushing or grasping to get the thing that you're trying to get or achieve the goal, but really just having trust is all I need.
Wow.
And then all the trials and tribulations, as long as I just trust, all that just disappears.
Yes, because you know why? It's kind of hard for two spirits to dwell in the same space.
Ooh.
Stress is a spirit, okay?
Yeah.
And so is the Lord Himself.
Yeah.
If you begin to focus on Him, on who He is and what He can do, it does alleviate the stress, because now I'm not worried about what I'm going to face or what I may be facing. And I say, you know what, God, you got this under control. I practice that in my home. My wife and I, and Ashley had a test, and it was funny, as we were talking about a week ago, and she was sharing with me, Dad, I'm a little stressed out. I said, why are you stressed? She said, because I know I can do well, but this is tricky. I said, but you know what? You do what you can do, study, leave the rest up to the Lord.
Yeah.
Let the Lord handle the rest, because we worry about stuff. And listen, the worst thing can happen is you get an answer 2, 3 wrong, you don't do well, you got another chance.
Right.
That's how life is. And I think we who are humans have to get to a place in our lives where we recognize whatever's going to happen, it's going to happen. But you got to trust God. He'll get you through it.
Yeah.
Because that's most key.
Man. All right. I got to take a second and let that all seep in, because that was good.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think this is a good time to take a little break and maybe let that sink in a little bit more. And we'll come right back with a commercial break right after this.
The world looks a whole lot different depending on where you stand.
Sure does.
From growing up in Wilmington to serving as a diplomat in a country devastated by war, starting 2 small businesses that created jobs, and teaching middle school math in neighborhoods that are too often overlooked and left behind. I'm Matt Meyer, and no matter where I stood, if something was broken, I've always tried to make it better. So when the insider said I had no shot against a 12-year incumbent, I ran for Newcastle County Executive anyway.
Gotta love an underdog.
Knocking on nearly 10,000 doors because our county looks different depending on where you stand, too.
Hey, Mr. Meyer, in our classroom, you always made us show our work.
We put the county checkbook online in the first 6 months to show where your tax dollars are going. We are making our county cleaner and greener, investing in early childhood and mental health services. Started 1,000 kids coding to give low-income students high-income skills. And we created the Hope Center, helping thousands of people get off the streets and into homes.
Now, as too many families struggle with the rising costs of housing and healthcare, too many communities go without clean air and clean water.
And our schools rank 46th in the nation. I know we can do better, because we should be a state where every kid gets a great education, where every family has a safe neighborhood they can afford to call home, and every woman makes decisions about her own body.
You got that right.
I'm Matt Meyer, and I'm running for governor, so that no matter where you stand, we can all see a brighter future.
Don't forget the website.
Join us at 9 a.m. on Facebook Live every Sunday by typing E-Zion Fair Baptist Church.
Jesus felt what you're feeling, but he did not sin. Am I in the word? Have one who has been tempted in every way, just as we are, yet he did not sin.
We are Wilmington's most exciting church. Tune in at 8 a.m. every Sunday for our worship services. Join us at 9 a.m. on YouTube and Facebook Live by typing E-Zion Fair Baptist Church. We are Wilmington's most exciting church.
And we're back. All right, so last segment we talked about some biblical teachings and principles. Also, we did some how stress affects our physical and mental well-being. Dr. Curry, you hit us with a lot of great knowledge there, and I'm still, even after the commercial break, letting that sink in. But I want to start off with this first question here about healthy ways to cope with stress. And What advice do you have for someone struggling with stress?
I'm going to be very direct in this one. I suggest that they get professional help. All too often, we allow our mental health to deteriorate because we won't get the help. In some communities, it's looked upon as being negative, but it is not. My number one suggestion is to get help. Now, somebody may be saying, you're a pastor. You should be telling people to pray first. Yes, that is true. A part of it is prayer. But I think we have messed up a whole community by saying pray, but we didn't tell them to go to the professionals. God sends doctors like God sends pastors. And people don't like that. But I'm going to be honest and just share my own belief. I was called to pastor, feed people spiritually. I think physicians were called to help us in our health, mentally, and things of that nature. That's number one. That's the strategy number one. Work that out with your physician, whether it be a psychologist, whether it be a counselor, whether it be a person who is a sociologist. Work it out with them, because they have gone to school to understand the human brain and what the functionality of it is and what can be causing the issue and how to relieve some of the tension that's there. That's important to me.
Right.
I've had relatives, I've had outstanding, faithful members of the church who really suffered with mental illness, and they were just told, pray on it, you'll be all right. That's the devil. I think that's malpractice.
Yeah.
I believe we first need to get help. Everything is not about drugging a person up. Sometimes they need to talk it through. That's why I talked about whether it be a psychologist, a sociologist, a social worker, a counselor. Talk to someone about it who have been trained. Some of the pastors have not even been trained to even preach, but they're preaching.
Right.
So I think, and I'm not negative against pastors because I'm one, but I think, as a pastor who have gone to school, who have gotten the degrees I'm supposed to have in order to be authority in my field, I know when my field ends. And I will never, ever tell a person whatever I say is the final word as it relates to their mental health.
Right.
So that's number one. Number two, I think that they need to make sure spiritually they are getting stronger. That has to go together with it. Prayer is important.
Yeah.
Making sure that you finding, I think some wusu moments or some moments when you're able to breathe in and breathe out, believing and trusting in the God that you serve.
Right.
That's important, I think. So with getting the counseling, with making sure that you are praying and spiritually being uplifted, it will help your life, because your surroundings will change. Your attitude will change, and all those things will matter.
Something you said made me think one of the biggest hurdles, and you had just mentioned this, was that the pride part of it. I know, just as an example, I know there's something I need professional help with, but my pride won't let me talk to this doctor because I don't want people to know.
Right.
But that's the devil.
Right. Absolutely.
That's
because if he can keep you, there's a story in the Bible. Last Sunday I preached it. There's a story in the Bible where the man was demon possessed. Okay. It's a spirit. Okay. And he was demon possessed, and he lived in the cemetery for years. The city, everybody had forgotten about him and left him alone. When Jesus got on the other side, after he got off the boat, this man was attracted to Jesus right away. He ran to him, and the spirit began to talk, because Jesus asked him, what is your name? And the man didn't say his name. Jesus said, what is your name? And then immediately the spirit said, my name is Legion, because there are many. Let me give you my point.
Ooh, interesting.
It's a spiritual battle that's happening. And what has to go on is that you have to understand that the spiritual part of you needs to be fed, but you also got to make sure that you understand that it needs to be fed. It's not dehumanizing to get help. I believe that this man wasn't directed to get help like that. He was directed to just maybe people just praying for him. Maybe people just speaking in tongues over him. Maybe people were just fasting for him. But what about the physical help? And that's important. Yeah. So but when Jesus shows up, now I will never discount his power, his ability. Yeah. But Jesus is not just walking around right now. He's spirit, okay? And he is here. And he can heal people and even if they don't go to a doctor. But I just am very big on allowing the physicians to earn their wage.
Yeah. They did all that work for a reason.
Yeah, and I just believe that I'm not going to be against it. And I go to the doctor. I make sure, again, there are times I have two mentors who mentor me, who give me advice on how I should do this, that, or the other. I have a physician, and if I feel I'm getting overwhelmed, I'll talk to him. Do you think I need to go see a counselor? Because some of the weight I carry is other people weight. So since it's and I don't want it to become so hard on me that I have lost my flavor, my ability to help other people. So I don't have a problem. And listen, if people found out I went to a psychologist, who cares? Yeah. Because I want to be healthy.
Yeah, and it doesn't matter what they're thinking.
Absolutely.
It's your mental health. It's your mental health.
Yeah.
Something you said made me think of something else too. I know a lot of people in all religions, they always end up going to their pastor, whether it's like a marital thing or even like stress or mental health. And I feel like that's a great start, even if you do have that hurdle and you are scared to talk outside of, people coming to you or coming to your pastor or whoever it is and talking to them first will empower you. I feel like if I were to sit down and we were to have a talk, that I'd feel much better about calling the doctor and letting him know what my problems are and getting me on the right path again. I think that's very strong.
Yeah, and when you said that, that's why I say to my pastor friends, share with them the truth. Yes, you pray, but they need to get some help.
Yeah.
They need to get a physician involved in this. Yeah. You talked about marital counseling. I do marital counseling, but if you look at the bottom of that permission for me to counsel people, it says I am not a licensed counselor to be able to counsel you. Do not understand that I'm giving you spiritual advice.
Exactly.
But I have told married couples, in order for your marriage to continue, because it's hard for you to forget what happened, it's all harder for that person to forget, we got to pray together, but I also want you to get some professional help.
Right.
And people are shocked when I do that. But I believe that's probably why our church is so strong, because I don't believe in I do believe in prayer. Prayer is powerful, and I'm a strong advocate of prayer. But God says, without doing some faith without works is dead. For every person who talks about, well, he's not really, I'm talking about how we need to be, yes, you pray. But what about that scripture that says faith without works is dead? So if you are praying and ain't doing nothing else.
Right. You're operating out of fear.
Not only out of fear, but you're operating out of I'm just here. The Lord want to know, are you invested in your issue? Now, how do you show him that you're invested in your issue? Is by you getting the help you need so that he can intervene and show you that he's the one who has a total healing.
Ooh, do the work. You got to do the work.
Yeah, it's interesting between the difference between being made whole and being healed. A lot of people can be healed through prayer, but being made whole is when you allow the community of what God has prepared for you to come together.
Interesting. Oh, I'd never heard that before.
Yeah, well, I hope that I'm not the originator of that, but I just believe the wholeness is what's important, and that means it's going to take a physician, it's going to take the pastor, a whole village, a whole community, in order for us to be really made whole.
And we're really big on that here.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Let's move on a little bit. How can faith and spirituality help in managing stress? So we kind of hit on that a little bit. But.
Yeah. Well, the only thing I can add to that is our faith is what drives our spirit. And I told you earlier that stress is a spirit, okay? Yeah. And because we are in this flesh, we are open for the stress to come. But what we believe is what we act out. So if I believe that God is real, if I believe that, God can make a way out of no way, then I'm going to start acting that out.
Yes.
And the more I act that out, the less I'm going to let my trouble get the best of me.
Oh, did you hear that? That was good.
And I'm just more or less interested in people understanding that your faith is critical because it's what you believe. It's your real, it's like the foundation of you. Your spirituality is the foundation of you. Sometimes is a little weak because of all the pressures of life, all the trials of life, all the tribulations of life, but it's you. You build that up by understanding the Word of God, by getting more of the Word of God, but you also build that up by getting some healthy practices.
Interesting.
Go into the doctor, let them give you some suggestions, sharing what the issue is. In order to pray specifically, we have to ask people, what is the specific problem? You're not going to know the problem, because if you did, you would solve the issue.
Oh, that's an interesting thought too. I guess I do kind of pray specifically, but I don't ever think of it that way. So that's an interesting.
But how could you pray for something you don't even know?
Yeah.
You know you're stressed out. Lord, get rid of my stress. Lord, okay, I want to get rid of your stress, but what is causing your stress? And that's where the psychologists come in.
Wow.
What is causing you to be feeling like you want to give up or you want to kill yourself? That's the part we need to be praying for. Lord, I rebuke that demon that wants to kill me.
Yeah.
Okay, these voices I hear in my head, I pray against that. I'll plead the blood against that. And if those of you who are spiritual, you know where I am right now.
Yeah.
But you can't do that if you've not gotten the appropriate guidance to know this is the issue, to know that I'm stressed out because of this. I'm stressed out because of money. See, when you sit down with a counselor, they'll talk about your life. Yeah. They'll talk about your job. They'll talk about your personal life, to see where is the stress coming from, to see where you are mentally collapsing.
Right.
They'll see that and they'll begin to share with you. This is the area you need to work on the most. You're doing great in this area. When you are matriculating and doing this, you're thriving and doing well.
Yeah.
But when you get in this area, when you're around these people, when you're around this situation, it just deteriorates you and it creates problems. That's how psychologists and sociologists and counselors are prepared to help you.
Right.
But if you don't hear that, all you know is I'm just stressed. Why? Ask somebody sometime. Next time somebody say to you, and I want to get this to everybody, the next time somebody say to you, I'm stressed out, I want you to ask them why. 9 times out of 10, they can't tell you. They're gonna say, I'm just stressed.
Yeah.
No, there's a reason why you're stressed. It could be money. It could be your girlfriend. You don't trust her, and she's the greatest person in the world. You got trust issues. We don't know, but the psychologist's job is to get into your psyche,
right?
To understand where you are so that you'll know, and then you'll begin to pray, Lord, help me with trust. Lord, help me to be able to accept others.
Yeah.
Lord, help me to deal with this spirit of deviation. And I think that comes out of that professional side, and I think that's important.
And I guess the community aspect too. Like,
yes,
if you don't have community,
yes,
and you don't think you need community,
yeah,
there's something going on there.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because God has never made us an island. We are made for community. Right. And for everybody who think I'm alone, I'm gonna do what I do, and I'm gonna do what I do by myself. That's a mental issue.
Yes.
Because we were made for community, and in our community, we have our pastors. We have our doctors, we have our lawyers, we have everybody in that community that God has blessed us, and then we need to be able to utilize it.
That's so true. Let's go to this last question here. Are there specific practices or rituals that can help reduce stress? I guess we kind of hit on it a little bit, but
yeah. Well, let me just give you something that I do.
Okay. Yeah.
Beyond shopping. Okay.
Yeah.
Every quarter.
Okay.
My wife, daughter, and I go away.
Oh.
Every quarter. We never miss. Sometimes in the country, sometimes out of the country.
Ooh.
We go away and do nothing but enjoy each other.
That's
great. My way of making sure I keep my family strong. I also keep me strong because I'm busy doing stuff. Another thing I do, I'm working on my health. Mm-hmm. Your health is important. I'm eating right. I'm also working. I'm making sure that I'm sleeping right.
Oh, sleep.
Because some of us are workaholics, and when we're dead, the work's still gonna get done by somebody else. There are some things we need to start putting checks on in our lives. Vacations are important. And even if you just go to the hotel down the street and shut the world out, you gotta have that me time to restore. And that's important. So I wanted to share even what I do. I go away with my family. We make sure we spend time together. And everybody know Ashley is my life. My wife is too. But that little girl, we pray so hard for her and she's doing so well. But we take time to go away. We take time to spend with each other so that I can stay healthy. They want me to, and I'm around people who want me to be healthy.
That's true.
Not just Zion Fair, because this church really wants me to be whole. They don't want me to be, stressed out.
Right.
But I'm around anybody who I consider to be a part of my circle are those individuals who help me to be whole.
Oh gosh, I want to talk more about this, and maybe I'll throw even some of my own stress reliefs right after this commercial break. So we'll be right back.
News all across the nation. Wilmington's latest headlines. Advocating for change in the community. With Dr. C.T. Curry, Kobe Owens, and Shanae Darby. Tune in to The Source every Sunday at 5 p.m.
Hello, my name is Eugene Young. I'm incredibly thankful to be here. I am a candidate for U.S. Congress, and I believe when it comes to Congress, it comes to service. One of my favorite lines about service is you can't lead without loving, you can't save without service. So what's the depth of your love, or what's the quality of your service? So this aspect of love and service is what brings me here before you today, and wanting to take that and extend that into Congress as we move forward. I look at my last 20 years of serving the community, and I look forward to having another 20 and being able to find more ways to even better serve the community, which has given me so much. So please feel free to join us at eugeneyoung.com. That's EUGENEYOUNG.com. That's eugeneyoung.com. If you're interested in volunteering or donating, it could be $5 a month, it could be $100 a month, it could just be a standard donation of $10. We appreciate it all. Thank you so very much, and wishing you a wonderful, beautiful day.
Greetings, I'm Representative Sherry Dorsey Walker of the 3rd District, and I am running for Lieutenant Governor for the state of Delaware. I have previously served on the Wilmington City Council. I served on the Board of Parole, and I am in my 6th year, my 3rd term as a state representative, and I am seeking your vote on September 10th, 2024 to be your next Lieutenant Governor. I believe I am uniquely qualified for this position. Please consider voting for me on September 10th, 2024. You can also become involved with the campaign by going to my website, www.sherry, spelled SHERRY, Dorsey, DORSEY, Walker, WALKER, that's SherryDorseyWalker.com, and you're welcome to make a contribution. Sign up to volunteer, host a party, join us for parades. But please consider voting for me on September 10th, 2024 to be your next Lieutenant Governor. May God bless you and continue to be a shining light in your life.
Join us at 9 a.m. on YouTube every Sunday by typing Zion Fair Baptist Church.
Oh my God, help me today. Which means every storm is a school. Every trial is a teacher. Every experience is an education. And every difficulty is development.
We are Wilmington's most exciting church.
And we're back. Hope you've been enjoying this awesome episode of, well, it's like a special episode of Coffee with Curry, where the roles are reversed. I'm usually behind the camera, and now I'm in this seat interviewing you, so that's pretty cool.
Maybe we should have changed seats.
Yeah.
I just thought about it right now. Maybe we should have changed seats. I'm in that interviewer seat.
That's true. Yeah. We were just talking about on the break how vacation is a big thing for you, to go on vacation, to get away from things. And do you do this quarterly, or is it, you were saying?
We do it quarterly, but my father is in North Carolina. We'll even just pop out and go there. My daughter plays volleyball.
Yeah.
Oh man, I do it then. But the quarterly trips are scheduled.
Okay.
But I'll make sure I'm at all of her games. I spend that weekend away. I'll come back on Sunday morning. Nobody knew I've been gone, but I'll be gone for the whole week because I'm with her in her tournaments. But I come back to do my duty as a pastor, to preach to the people. But vacationing is important because when you're around the people you love, and they're doing some wonderful things, whether they won the game or not, you stressed out because you done told them all off because they didn't do what they need to do. You are away and you're relaxing.
Yeah.
And that's very much important.
Yeah. And something that really resonates with me too is getting your stress levels down by doing these communal things and with your family and everything really resonates to the people around you in your workspace, or while you're out on the street or at a restaurant. And what you think is what you are, right?
That's right.
That's right. All of that stuff is connected.
Yeah.
And the mental hurdles, I know, is a big thing to do, and to get over needing to do things during your day, or even if it is more serious where you have to actually ask for professional help. That's a hard thing to get over, but having your faith and having faith in God is going to help you get over those trials and tribulations. All those rocks in front of you, you just believe in him. When you look down again, they'll all be gone.
Yeah, one writer said, I'm going to look to the hills from which come my help, knowing my help comes from the Lord. At the end of the day, when everything is settled, yes, I may have been stressed for a few minutes, but I'm going to always look to the one who's able to present me faultless. And I think that's so key. As you were talking, I just thought about all those scriptures. You're not quoting scriptures, but I'm just thinking about all the things the Lord, it is our faith. I don't want this show to be void of me telling it strong. Yes, our faith play a very strong role. It is my faith, my spirituality that causes me to go on vacation because I'm cracking, I'm breaking.
Right.
And matter of fact, the first 5 years of pastoring, I didn't. I just wanted to build ministry. And I wanted to build, well, it was my mentor who said to me, Curry, you're gonna build ministry and die. If you don't get yourself some stress relievers. He said, you're gonna build this ministry and everybody gonna talk about how great you are and you'll be dead. Go on vacation. The church will survive.
Yeah.
And then as the years went on, I said, every quarter I just want to go away. I don't tell the church, y'all never know when I'm going. Well, you would know because I'm not in the office during the week. But for the most part, the church doesn't know because it's important that we are stress-free. I'm not effective if I'm stressed.
No, that's true.
Matter of fact, I'm snapping. I'm acting crazy.
Yeah.
If I'm not stress-free.
Yeah, and you can't get anything done.
Yeah.
And I think, it really shows like all the things that you've gotten done here at the church and beyond the church with the community. Like you wouldn't have been able to do any of that if you were super stressed out.
Yeah. Well, I've learned this. I put everything in its bucket. You asking really about the strategies.
Yeah.
I put everything in its bucket. There are battles that I have to fight, but I don't have to fight them today. And I'm smart enough now to deal with life that way.
Interesting.
There are some battles that pop up. Because it popped up doesn't mean I need to fight it today. Sometimes the stress reliever is talking to God about when to fight it. Because right now, this may be happening. And everybody's saying, let's go fight. No, the Lord is saying, no, I'm gonna handle that. You deal with this, you continue to do this. And then all of a sudden, a month, a week or so later, he says, all right, handle it. And when you handle it, you see the victory even while you're handling it. That's my faith. That's what I believe. That's what I stand on. Your spirituality, to go right at your question, is very much important. It's very much, but everybody is not there.
Yeah.
Everybody's not there, but you got to learn how to put stuff in its own bucket.
Interesting.
In its own bucket.
And you're not saying like compartmentalize things where it's like in the back of your mind somewhere. You're just itemizing.
Right. Yeah, because it's out
front.
It's going in that bucket.
Yeah, it's there.
If I can't be holding it.
Right.
I can't be thinking about it.
No.
If it's in the bucket.
Right.
And I'm glad you deciphered the difference between the two. Because there's some people who have their head full of a lot of things and they're stressed out because all stuff is in their head.
It's so much.
No, it's in that bucket. I'll deal with that when the Lord says it's time to deal with that.
That's interesting too, because you know how there's timing for everything, right?
Yes. And Ecclesiastes,
Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say Ecclesiastes 3, it tells about the time and the purpose for everything under the sun. Go ahead.
Okay, yeah, exactly. Like, just some things you can't do right then and there.
Right.
You got to put it in the bucket.
And that helps you with your stress.
Yeah.
When you know that you're not Superman. I mean, if you can solve the issue, then you shouldn't be stressing about it. And if you can't solve it, you got to say to God, I want you to handle it, or tell me how to handle it.
Or when to.
And when. Yes.
That's beautiful.
Yes.
I think another thing too is, some people may not have the ability to do vacations or stuff like that. And I want to kind of talk about them. For me, at least like in my life, in my conditions, like, who I am in my life, the small victories are the way that I can nip away at the stress, right? So I don't set bars too high, because if it's too high, then that's just going to create more stress. So I set small victories, and then I reward myself with small victories.
Excellent.
But then I don't get used to all this rewarding, because I do believe that like you should work hard and to get the reward, not just these like little tiny wins and then you reward yourself. But for a person who is not me, who has a hard time with stress and needs these like little like breaths to take, to breathe, to get away. I know a lot of people don't have like a vacation, or maybe some people don't even have a car, they can't go anywhere. So to just find those small victories is my point, is like how to deal with the stress, Right. Could you talk to that?
Well, the ocean is made up of many drops of water. We have to stop believing that the ocean is just one big thing of water. It's made up. The minor victories, the smaller victories matter. The question that was asked, I think it was Peanut, I don't know who exactly said, how do you eat an elephant? You eat it one bite at a time.
That's great.
My goal to those who are watching us is to say, yes, if you can put down a few victories, that'll give you strength to be able to say, you know what, everything's gonna be all right.
Yeah.
Everything's gonna be all right.
Everything is gonna be all right.
Yeah.
And that's definitely, I think, a good way to start. If you feel like if people feel like they don't know where to start, or if they're backed up against the wall, because I know mental illness or just mental health in general is a serious matter, and we want to make sure that people get the right treatment, and individuals that understand where their situation is, that they have the power to fix it themselves.
That's right.
And there's so many ways to do that. So
our body heals itself.
It does.
But you got to put your body in the right position.
Exactly.
And if you hang around negative people, if you hang around negativity, you're not putting your body in the right position in order to heal, especially mental health. You have to put your body in a zone where it is being helped appropriately. You guys say something?
Yeah. Actually, to that point, the little victories I was giving myself, a lot of the time would be, I would just go to like a barbecue place and get like the full platter, and I get so excited about food. That's just who I am, So I got like the smoked turkey and the brisket and all this other stuff in front of me. But then I realized what you were just saying, like that actually it wasn't helping my stress, that I was stress eating.
Yeah.
So even though it made me feel good, it didn't make anything disappear, and my intentions weren't correct either.
Absolutely.
So just like you said, like
you kind of compartmentalize. You just put it in there. I'm gonna go eat something, and did not recognize that you have not turned that away.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The next day it's still there.
It's still there. Yeah. So, and you can fix that by deciding, I'm not gonna let this win and take over my life. When we built this church, let me tell you, the level of negativity I received from people, it was unbelievable. Why is he over there buying that swampland property? And you know what the Lord kept saying to me? If I have called you, do what I say. I stopped stressing about it. Now everybody started talking about how arrogant he is because he ain't listening to nobody. But today, a lot of the people who was very much talking about the arrogance are really thanking me and asking for advice on how do you do certain. And the first thing you got to do is you got to make up your mind what you're going to do. Stress is going to be a part of that process.
Yeah.
People who are negative are going to be a part of that process. Even the worst enemy, can I tell you who that is? It's us. It's ourselves. Man. We're telling ourselves constantly. For those of you who didn't get a chance to come to church today, you need to get over to East Zion because I'm preaching this at the second service too. But for those of you who are, for those who want better, they have to start talking to themselves.
Yeah.
Self, I can do better. I can be better. I don't need this. If this is causing my life to be deteriorated, then I don't need this anymore. And you gotta be able to walk away. That's hard.
That's hard.
But you gotta be able to do it.
Yeah.
And if you don't, you're gonna find yourself stressed out. And that's the problem. There's something I wanna do before you ask your next question.
Yeah.
I wanna make sure everybody who's watching us know that there's some facts. 23% of all adults in America, that's 57.8 million people, suffer with what we call mental health. That's a lot of people. But this is the part that you didn't catch. These are the people who went and got help. That does not include, if we are at 23% for those who went and got help, can you imagine how large that number is for those who did not? But what got me, Brother Vince, really strong is that 21% of all youth ages 3 to 17, and that represents 2 million children, are seriously facing mental health issues.
Wow.
Again, these are the ones who have been tested, the ones who have gone and got help, and now they're in the database. We have a lot of children who are watching trauma.
Yeah.
People getting killed.
Ugh.
This stuff traumatized children. And people think, oh, they get over it, they're resilient. And they are resilient, but you got to get the help because making sure that your health is right. You got to be physically fit. This is my belief. Spiritually alert and physically fit, mentally alert, and spiritually alive. That's what I believe. That's what I stand on. And while we were talking, all of these people in our country are already noted for how mental health is very real in their lives. There's so many more who are not aware. They're just functioning.
Right.
They're just functioning and dealing with it as they think.
Oof. And that's tough.
Yeah.
To have that many people without help, but then also in their minds they don't need help.
Yeah.
Or they think they don't need help.
Right.
Ugh.
Yeah.
I can't even imagine the heartbreak. It's pretty sad. It is.
Yeah.
Especially with the age group too.
Yeah.
That's like the primary time of a human.
But when you see how many children really experience, whether it be divorces, whether it be murders, whether it be suicides, whether it be parents missing, it's easy to believe.
Yeah.
People don't pay attention, but what you see through your eyes, it does affect your spirit. And that's why we have to be careful about how much we're watching stuff. Because what people are faced with, young kids, is they got to live in houses where there's a lot of trauma.
Right.
Community where there's a lot of trauma. And we have to begin to address that as well.
Or else they become desensitized.
And that's why you can get a 20-year-old, a 19-year-old, an 18-year-old, 17-year-old who will shoot people blank and not care.
Yeah, not have any remorse or anything.
Because the value for human life is just not there.
Yeah, it's sad. And that it's not just the stigma or just because of the place you live. Understandably, that's there and that's a part of your life. But you don't just have to accept it.
Right.
You can do something about it. It just mentally,
Right.
Like you can not let that affect you mentally. Or like you said, put the right things in place to make sure that our kids aren't being desensitized by all the violence and weapons and things that we are constantly inundated.
Well, one psychologist said, even for those children, like especially in the suburbs, one psychologist said that the video games they play also help to desensitize them. It contributes to their mental health.
And that's like majority of their day is video games. and you with kids or with Ashley, and I have fur babies, but I have nieces and nephews that when we're watching them, we have to say, hey, you got another 10 minutes on that thing, and then go outside. I don't know what happened to kids these days.
I remember when I was being raised, we would go outside. Even though we were in a very poor neighborhood, we made a basketball court out of milk crate. We just did a lot of stuff outdoors.
Yeah.
Nowadays, they're all inside, sitting in their room the whole time.
I saw this one thing on Instagram. The father punished his kid, but instead of putting him in his room, he put him outside. He wouldn't let him back in the house. And
he probably went to jail for child abuse because the society we live in now is about they don't need to be outside. They need to make sure they're looking at the video games.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty funny though. The kid's knocking on the window like, "Dad, let me in." Yeah. And he's like, "When I was your age, I never was inside. I was always outside. What would you even do if you were inside?" "Oh, I'd probably play video games."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Oh man, go do something cool and innovative. Like create your own game. Yeah. Like I think that's the cool thing." Yeah. And obviously, that's the healthy things kids need these days for sure. And the video games, I'm not too sure is the way to go. But.
No, not at all. The more killing it does, it desensitizes our young people.
Yeah. Well, we've talked about so much today, and I think we only scratched the surface on both stress awareness and mental health. Mm-hmm. So if you guys are enjoying this video, make sure to like and comment even down below and let us know if we missed something or if you guys have personal stories that you'd like to share, and maybe we'll make another one of these down the road. I think for one, it's very informative just to talk about this stuff, and like we had mentioned, not a lot of people want to talk about this stuff, and it's sometimes hard to talk with other people and in groups and stuff, but it's really, that's the healthy thing, is to be able to share what's going on, because if you're an island, you're not going to get what you need out of life. You're not going to find the happiness. You're not going to release the stress, and then eventually mental health will suffer.
And can I just say this, because one of the things we got to also do, and I noticed you said stuff 3 times instead of saying mental health.
Yeah.
Jay-Z, you may have seen the video, for those of you who watch stuff, and I don't comment on everybody's stuff, but if he had gotten help with his mental stability years ago, some of the things you saw him perpetrating, he would not have. The way he kicked that young lady, the way he acted as if he owned her, was a disgrace before God. But that's mental health.
Yeah.
Because he felt that he had a right to do what he did. And while, I pray for that brother and all the people who are connected to him, but it's a shame that his money is so powerful that somebody couldn't tell him, you need help.
Man.
You need help. That young lady and he could have changed the world had he got help. And still, even today, there are people who are agreeing and saying this is not the way it was, even though he allegedly apologized.
Yeah.
Because he was in a dark place. Well, what did you do to get out of that dark place? There's no evidence that it has been anything been done.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, I want to just jump in, and I'm sorry to take over your part, to say we really got to get help. Talk about it. Mental health is important. It's important for all of us to talk about it, and it's important for us to make sure that we are addressing it. I'll leave it there.
Yeah. And that's all we got today. I hope you guys enjoyed the show. And obviously let us know if you liked what you saw. If you haven't subscribed, subscribe, please, because a lot of you guys, almost like 50% of the people who watch, but they are not subscribed. Yeah. So please subscribe. Dr. Curry, thank you so much for having this interview with me, and we hope to have you back on my show. On your show.
And I look forward to coming back next week.
All right. We'll see you guys soon.
Thank you for watching this episode of Coffee with Curry. Tune in next week, Sunday at 11 a.m.